to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
I'm Freddi Hoffmann from McLean. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to be talking about coping with the holidays. We know it can be stressful for all of us, but especially for those who are caregivers or grieving. It's a very challenging time. So today and all during the holidays, McLean Home Care and Hospice will be honoring and supporting caregivers and honoring and supporting those who have lost someone dear. We hope this show will provide you with many very helpful tips to cope with the holidays. We have several guests today. McLean spiritual and bereavement counselor Bonnie Lillis will give us some ways to separate the hard work of caregiving from the moments of time to create some lifelong memories. Susan Trovato is a McLean hospice social worker, and she's going to provide us with many ways to acknowledge our grief, create new rituals with the memories that Bonnie discusses. I'm going to share some details about our community event here at Eno Hall again this year called the Lights of Hope Gathering on November 29th. And Deb Feldman has joined us today with her own story of being a caregiver and why she joins McLean annually for our gathering and why you will find that evening so enriching. So let's start about grieving during the holidays. Susan, tell us about some key things about grief first.
Okay, Freddi. People who are grieving may experience sadness, stress, disappointment, heartache, anger, hurt, and loneliness.
I know personally that grieving during the holidays is especially hard. It just brings up so many things, and it's so confusing, and it's also confusing for those of us who have a loved one or a friend who's grieving and what to do with them. So how do we handle that during the holidays?
Handling the holidays is not deciding how to eliminate those painful feelings from our lives, but rather learning how to live with that grief instead of being consumed by it. Allowing yourself time to think about and acknowledging your grief can also help you to realize that your holidays are going to have some happy moments and some sad moments, and that that's okay.
And just really do what feels right, the 7 R's as you keep telling us.
Right.
So can you tell us more about what those 7 R's are?
Sure. Respect. So you want to respect yourself and your limits and knowing your situation. Reaching out is another one. So in times of grief, reaching out to others can be healing and help us get through that grief as well.
Don't go it alone.
Right. Refreshing yourself. So do what refreshes and uplifts you, taking care of yourself.
So it's okay to pamper ourselves a little bit. Don't feel guilty about that.
Right, right. Ritualize is very important. So don't ignore your pain and your losses. Try to find ways maybe to create rituals of the loved one that you have lost. Restrict your expectations that you have for yourself and that others might have for you. During the grieving process, there's a lot of expectations that you might have about how you're supposed to grieve, or that others might have and impose upon you about how they might think you should be grieving. And most of all, rest. Your body and your spirit is very important. And remember that love and joy and the moments are our greatest treasures.
Great. So go into some of these in more detail. You talked about reaching out. Who do we reach out to?
Find someone that you can talk to about your saddest feelings. Consider giving and caring for others. For example, some people find it helpful to volunteer at a soup kitchen or a senior center. It's often in helping others that we can best help ourselves to heal as I mentioned before. Then some different ways that you can ritualize and create rituals are to maybe light a special candle for the loved one that you have lost. Some people find it helpful to wrap a gift and bring it to the cemetery during Hanukkah or Christmas time. A lot of people, I find, leave a special place at the table for that loved one where they may have sat before. Or donating a gift or money to a charity in your loved one's name can be also very healing for people. Looking at old family photos and telling stories can help as well, and I have an example of that. I know a family where they were a big Italian family, and the grandmother had passed away shortly before Thanksgiving time, and she was the matriarch of the family and used to do all the cooking and care for everybody. And when the family gathered at Thanksgiving time again, everyone was very sad, and no one would go near where she sat at the table. Until one of the younger members of the family kind of broke the ice and brought up a really funny story about her, where, she had Thanksgiving dinner all prepared except they were waiting for the turkey. And Uncle Carmine came in, busted through the door with this live turkey in his hand. And she ran chasing after him with a wooden spoon and kicked him out of the house, basically. But anyway, it just created a bunch of laughter at the table and broke the ice for the other members of the family to start sharing their memories and stories about her. And that goes back to earlier when I was talking about your grief can have some sad and happy moments. And so even though it was sad for the family that she was no longer part of that holiday, they had a lot of good memories about her that they were able to share and that they did each year after that.
I always say to friends that have lost their mother, because I think losing your mother is one of the hardest things, is that with time the stories start to bring more and more smiles and less tears.
Yes.
And with each year, and especially during the holidays, you start to remember things so fondly, so you find yourself smiling more. So,
yes.
But at first, it's okay if it's tears.
It is, and it could be both. And often humor is helpful, and I think people, they might be laughing and crying as they're sharing the memories, and that's really healing for people. And listen to your loved one's favorite music is another thing that people do as well, or decorating their memorial with a holiday theme. Maybe at your place of worship, remembering them in prayer. And creating new traditions is also very helpful during the holidays. Not being able to change some of those old traditions and creating new ones in honor of the loved one that you have lost.
So if Thanksgiving is too painful with all the family, make the new tradition being working at the shelter for Thanksgiving.
Sure. Or have the holiday meal at a different time, or invite new friends, or just have the immediate family. So really just kind of doing what is right for you in that moment. Some people cut back on sending cards. We're in such a pattern of sending cards to everybody and making sure we have gifts for everybody, but you don't have to do that. You have to, again, do what's right for you. And what you do this year, you might not do the next year, and just knowing that it's important that each year does not have to be the same. Be careful of the shoulds. A lot of people tell us what we should and shouldn't do when we've lost a loved one, or when we're going through a hard time during the holidays. So that just comes down to what we always say is, most of all, do what feels right for you. Remember that your emotions are normal, and that grieving during the holidays is normal, even if the loss isn't recent, even if it's been, over 20 years ago. It's normal to grieve that loss during significant events and holidays.
So birthdays, anniversaries,
Yes.
holidays, kids' graduation, all those things.
Yeah. And again, take care of you.
Great. So we've learned about grieving and focusing, but now we want to focus on those who are actually giving care right now. Mm-hmm. And we know that that's such a stressful situation anyway. You're going to help us, Bonnie, learn how to create some memories while we're doing that caregiving.
Absolutely. Thank you, Freddi. The holiday season can be very difficult for caregivers for many reasons. They're already tired and overwhelmed, as you know, taking care of their loved ones. All the responsibilities of the holidays can increase their stress. They may be anticipating that this actually could be the last holiday that they spend with their loved one.
So how do we start to really focus on memories?
As a spiritual counselor, I encourage families to try to separate the hard work of caregiving and attempt to have moments of time to create lifelong memories. There are many ways of doing this, and sometimes people miss the boat because they're just focusing on all the work that it takes to take care of their loved ones. And some of the have-tos get in the way, like writing Christmas cards, baking thousands of cookies, entertaining, all the things like that. And instead of focusing on time together, one way is to create memories is through the use of communication.
And what do we mean by communication?
Well, communication is so key. Spend some quiet time with your loved one. Whether they can communicate back with you or not, it's important to just talk with them. Rest assured that they are hearing, and your mere presence is so important. Talk to them as if they can respond. It's the gift of you that you're giving. If they can communicate, this can be a time of healing and resolution. There's a book called The 4 Things That Matter the Most by Dr. Ira Byock. He so eloquently talks about this. His concept is that every human being needs to hear and say the 4 following things. Forgive me, I forgive you, thank you, and I love you. Many people receive great healing when they're able to tell their loved one these things without expectation that they will receive a positive response. The mere act of saying these words can provide healing power. Imagine what conversations may occur if these are said. It's the possibility that the words may open the door to communication that never occurred before. Even if there's not a positive return response, you made that commitment to healing yourself. This is all part of the unfinished business that is possible at the end of life.
And not even just the end of life. I mean, you know, if we've got an elderly parent or a loved one that, you know, we can be doing these things all the time. I mean, these are good words for all of us.
Absolutely.
So, and more tips on creating memories, some very specific things.
Sure. Here's a few. First of all, record your loved one's voice. You can ask them questions such as important times in their lives. What's been the most happiest time in their life? The most meaningful thing that they did? Childhood memories, those kinds of things. Hearing your loved one's voice years later is very special. One woman I cared for recorded a song for her granddaughter. It was so beautiful. She started off by just singing a song of I love you, I love you, I love you, and then talked about some of the special memories that they created together. This became such a treasured gift for that granddaughter. Interview your loved one about the funny things they may have experienced. Create a memory book. Individualize this with anything that is most meaningful. Pictures, ticket stubs, letters, favorite recipes, those kinds of things. I created a memory book for a very good friend of mine. Her name was Lisa, and it has a picture of her, it has cards from her, emails, and I wrote a dedication to her, and it is something that still provides me comfort, and that's been about 7 years ago, so it's a beautiful memory for me. Create a 3D memory box that includes objects that you can pick up and handle, and those can bring memories. Things like a piece of clothing, jewelry, a wallet, a purse, sports equipment, glasses, a bottle of perfume. I still have a bottle of my mother-in-law's perfume. She died 30 years ago, and every time I smell it, I can still think of her. You can create a photo collage together. or create a DVD or a CD of your loved one's favorite music, favorite songs. This is a favorite of mine, creating a memory jar. Just write on little pieces of paper when memories come up and put them in the jar. And then at different times of the year, just take them out and read them.
Our volunteers do that. Our hospice volunteers
Yes.
work with patients and create those memory jars.
They absolutely
And
do.
they're wonderful while someone is ill, because it's nice for visitors or things to kind of pull things out and tell me about.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful gift for the family afterwards.
Absolutely, absolutely. And probably the last thing you can do is create a new holiday ritual, something that's brand new and personalized that can be carried over each year. For example, you can make or buy a candle that can be lit to honor your loved one, and it can be decorated and taken out each year to remember your loved one. The key is to know that these moments are precious, and sharing through communicating or making memories can help relieve the stress and bring comfort.
And then, you know, they're with us forever. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
you know, but in the busyness of it all, I don't think we think about that. And you talk about the candle, which is the perfect segue to our Lights of Hope gathering. And this year, the Lights of Hope is going to be really expanded some. We're not just focusing on those who are grieving, but we are focusing on those who are actively caregivers, because they certainly need the support and a wonderful, enriching evening. So we will be honoring both caregivers and those who have experienced a loss. Those who need nourishment just from gathering together. That's what Susan's saying is you know, reach out to others. And that's what this evening is all about. And we hope that people will actually stand up and share their stories some more this year than we have in the past, where it'll participate in community leaders. So the event is Thursday, November 29th, here at Eno Memorial Hall, 6 to 8 p.m. The gathering will start at 6, and we'll do a tree lighting across the street, which is just Lights of Hope. It's not a religious thing. This is not a holiday thing. You know, it's just because of the holidays, we feel it's a stressful time. We want to reach out. For more information about the gathering, for more information on other support groups that we have going on, you know, Susan's saying reach out to people. We certainly have bereavement support groups going on now that we take people in at any time. And also certainly support we can give to caregivers now when we have all kinds of resources. So you can visit McLeanHomeCare.org. Or give us a call at 658-3750. That's 658-3750, and we can provide more resources for families. And we've asked Debra to join us today because she has a wonderful story of being a caregiver and has come to our gathering several years And I think we'll explain why it's really good for others and why it could be enriching for them to join us. So Deb, thanks for coming today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Years ago, when my husband was diagnosed, the one thing that we as a family decided was we would, now that we know that his life had an end, we were going to celebrate every moment, which we did. And when Susan was talking about Thanksgiving, we took the time to change our Thanksgiving, and we had an Asian Thanksgiving. So instead of turkey, we had Peking duck, and instead of stuffing, we had fried rice, and we had all different kinds of Asian food. Everybody had to come in pajamas or sweats because this way Sam didn't have to dress up. We all dressed down, and it's memorable, like to this day. And it was his last Thanksgiving at home, but everybody remembered it because if it was just Thanksgiving, it would have blended. And McLean came into our lives, and it was so wonderful because you realize that when this affects you, it's bigger than yourself, and you really can't do it by yourself. You need a team. And they came in and they supported us, and they really helped us. I mean, we're all doing well, and I don't know that we could have done it without them. So the reason that for me personally is I go back to the lighting of the tree because it brings us back to friends, and it also gives me another moment with Sam because a lot of times as time goes on, everyone around you has moved on. And if you talk about him, they feel like you're stuck, but you're not. The rest of your life has gone on, except it's really nice to be brought back to a wonderful place in your life. So when I go back to McLean, they don't judge, they don't ask questions, they know why you're there. You have another moment, and then you continue your life. So I think it's wonderful to have this moment where you could stop everything that you're doing and just go back and give that time to basically a wonderful time in your life. Because when I look back, it wasn't the worst time of my life, it was just the saddest. And I really attribute that to McLean because their support was wonderful. Like, they really helped us.
Thank you. We love having you there every year.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you for sharing your time with us. We hope that we've been helpful. And again, please call McLean. We want to support you during the holidays and all throughout the year. And we'll see you on November 29th at Eno Hall at 6 p.m.
May eternal light surround you, everlasting arms be around you. Know that love has bound you to our hearts. Know that love has bound you to our hearts. May eternal light surround you, everlasting arms be around you. Know that love has bound you to our hearts. Know that love has bound you to our hearts.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.